The rope made a soft sound as General Park Hyun's body stopped moving in the wind. Captain Kang Min-ho watched from behind a broken wall, his hands shaking with anger. The alien crowd below was still laughing and making their strange clicking sounds. They thought this was funny. 7 of Earth's best military leaders hung from wooden posts in what used to be the main square of New Geneva. Their uniforms were torn and dirty, but they had died with their heads up. Even at the end, they had not begged. Even when the tall, green-skinned Valtherans had put the ropes around their necks, the generals had stood straight like soldiers. Kong remembered when General Park had been his teacher at the military school. The old man had always said that a soldier's duty never ends, not even in death. Now Kang understood what he meant. "They're making a show of it," whispered Corporal O.J. Sung from beside him. O had been hiding in the ruins for 2 months now, ever since the final battle at Luna Station. His face was thin from not eating enough, and his eyes looked tired and sad. The Valtharans loved their shows. They had cameras everywhere, sending pictures of the dead generals to every human colony in space. They wanted everyone to see what happened to humans who fought back. They wanted people to be afraid. Admiral Lee Tae-min had been the last to die. Even with the rope tight around his neck, he had looked right at the alien commander and said something. Kang could not hear the words from where he was hiding, but he saw the alien step back. Whatever the admiral had said, it had made the creature angry. The alien crowd started to move away from the square. They walked on 2 legs like humans, but they were much taller and their skin looked like snake skin. Their eyes were yellow and cold. They had sharp teeth that they showed when they were happy about something bad. Kang had fought them in space above Earth 3 months ago. His ship had been one of the few that made it back to the planet when the main fleet was destroyed. The Valtherans had better weapons, better ships, and more soldiers. Humans never had a real chance to win. "We should go," O said softly. "The patrols will come back soon." But Kang could not look away from the dead generals. These were the people who had kept Earth safe for so many years. General Choi Da-un had won the war against the Mars rebels. Admiral Kim Woo-jin had built the Space Defense Network. Marshal Yoon So-ra had trained half the officers in the fleet. Now they were all dead, and the aliens were celebrating. The Valtharans had made the executions last 3 days. First, they brought out General Park and made him kneel in the dirt while they read out his crimes in their clicking language. His crime was fighting for his home world. His crime was not giving up when they told him to. Then came Admiral Lee, then General Choi, then the others. One by one, they had walked up the wooden steps to the hanging posts. One by one, they had refused to ask for mercy. The aliens had expected them to cry, or beg, or break down. Instead, each general had stood quiet and strong until the end. "They don't understand us at all," Kang said, more to himself than to O. "What do you mean?" "Look how they act. They think this makes us weak. They think killing our leaders will make us give up." O looked at him with confused eyes. "Doesn't it?" Kang thought about this. 3 months ago, when the invasion started, he might have said yes. When he saw the giant alien ships in the sky above his hometown, when he watched them destroy the coastal cities with their energy weapons, he had felt small and powerless. But something had changed when he watched the generals die. They had not looked defeated. Even with ropes around their necks, they had looked like they were still fighting. "No," Kang said finally. "This is just the beginning." The square was empty now except for the 7 bodies. The alien guards had gone, back to their posts around the city. Soon it would be dark, and the human work crews would come to clean up. The Vialtharans made humans do all the dirty work. Kang and O crawled through the broken buildings toward their hiding place in the old subway tunnels. Many humans lived down there now. The aliens did not like to go underground where their tall bodies did not fit well. In the tunnels, about 30 people lived in the darkness. They had Park Ji-woo, who used to be a weapons expert before the war. They had engineer Lim Da-bin, who could fix anything with tools and spare parts. They had Dr. Nam Soo-jin, who helped people when they got sick or hurt. But they had no real leaders, no one who could make plans or give orders that people would follow. The invasion had killed or captured most of the military officers. The ones who were left were scattered and hiding. "Did you see them die?" Ji-woo asked when Kang and O came, back to the main tunnel. "Yes," Kang said. "All 7. The group got quiet. Everyone had hoped that maybe the aliens would change their minds. Maybe they would put the generals in prison instead of killing them. Maybe there was still some small chance for hope. "What do we do now?" asked Lim Da-bin. No one had a good answer. They had been asking this question for weeks. They could keep hiding in the tunnels and stealing food from alien supply trucks. They could try to help other humans when the Vialtharans hurt them, but they could not fight back in any real way. The aliens had won completely. Earth was conquered. The human colonies in space were captured or destroyed. There was no human government left, no human military, no human hope. Or so it seemed. That night, Kang could not sleep. He kept thinking about the way Admiral Lee had looked at the alien commander right before he died. The old man's eyes had not been afraid or sad. They had been waiting, like he knew something the aliens did not know. Around midnight, Kang heard a soft beeping sound from somewhere deep in the tunnels. It was coming from a section they had never explored, because it was blocked by fallen concrete and metal. He got up and followed the sound. It led him to an old door marked with military symbols. The door was locked, but the beeping was definitely coming from behind it. The sound was steady and regular, like a heartbeat, like something was waking up after a long sleep. Kang put his ear against the metal door. Inside, he could hear the soft hum of machines starting to work. Electronic sounds, power flowing through circuits that had been dark for months. Something was happening. Something the aliens did not know about. He thought again about Admiral Lee's last look at the enemy commander. Not defeat, not fear, certainty. Like the Admiral had known that dying was just part of a bigger plan. The beeping got a little louder. Dr. Han Mi-jung had not seen sunlight in 4 months. She had been living in the deep underground bunker since before the aliens came to Earth. The bunker had everything she needed to stay alive, but it felt like living in a tomb. The bunker was part of Project Lazarus, something so secret that only 12 people in the whole government knew about it. Now Han was probably the only one left who knew what it really was. She sat in front of the main computer screen, looking at numbers and charts that would mean nothing to most people. But to her, they told a terrible story. 7 biosignatures had gone dark in the past 3 days. 7 heartbeats had stopped forever. The computer made a soft sound and showed her a message in red letters. Protocol 0 initiated. Please confirm identity for command authority. Han put her hand on the scanner next to the keyboard. Green light ran over her fingers and palm, checking the tiny patterns in her skin that were different from every other person who ever lived. Identity confirmed. Dr. Han Mi-jung, Project Lazarus, Director, welcome to Protocol Zero. She had hoped this day would never come. For 20 years, she had worked on Protocol Zero, building systems and writing computer programs for something she prayed would never be needed. It was supposed to be impossible for all 7 target generals to die. They were too important, too well protected, too smart to be captured all at once. But the aliens had done it anyway. Han stood up and walked to the elevator that would take her to the surface for the first time since the invasion. She was scared. She did not know what the world looked like now, or if any other humans were still alive in the city above her. The elevator moved up slowly through solid rock and metal. It took 5 minutes to reach the top. When the doors opened, Han stepped out into a basement that looked like it had been bombed. Broken concrete and twisted metal were everywhere. She climbed through the rubble to reach the outside world. What she saw made her stop and stare. New Geneva was destroyed. Most of the buildings were knocked down or burned. The streets were full of holes from alien weapons. Strange vehicles that looked like giant metal insects moved back and forth, carrying supplies for the occupying army, but there were still humans. She could see them working in groups, cleaning up the mess and carrying things for their alien masters. They moved slowly and kept their heads down. They looked defeated. Han was looking for a place to hide when she heard footsteps behind her. She turned around and saw a man in a torn military uniform pointing a gun at her. "Don't move," the man said. "Are you working for them?" "No," Han said, raising her hands. "I'm human. I've been hiding underground since before they came." The man looked at her carefully. He was young, maybe 30 years old, with short black hair and tired eyes. There was a name tag on his uniform that said, O.J. Sung. "You're clean," O said, lowering his gun. "You don't smell like them. How did you survive down there?" "I had supplies," Han said. "Food, water, air recycling. I was part of a government project." "What kind of project?" Han looked around to make sure no aliens were watching them. "The kind that planned for this exact situation." O's eyes got wide. "You mean someone knew this would happen?" "Not exactly, but some people in the military thought it was possible. They made plans." O grabbed her arm, not hard, but firm. "You need to come with me. There are others hiding in the subway tunnels, people who need to hear this." They moved carefully through the ruined streets, staying away from the main roads where alien patrols moved back and forth. O knew the safe paths, the places where humans could move without being seen. The tunnel entrance was hidden behind a pile of broken concrete that looked random, but was actually placed very carefully. O moved a few pieces and revealed a hole, just big enough for a person to crawl through. Inside, the tunnels were dark except for a few small lights powered by old car batteries. The air smelled like too many people living in too small a space. Han could hear voices talking quietly in the distance. "This is Captain Kang Min-ho," O said, pointing to a man who was looking at a hand-drawn map on the wall. "He's been leading our group since the invasion." Kang turned around and looked at Han with surprised eyes. She was clean, well-fed, and wearing clothes that were not torn or dirty. She looked nothing like the other survivors. "Where have you been hiding?" Kang asked. "Underground," Han said, "in a military bunker that was built for emergencies like this." "What kind of emergencies?" Han took a deep breath. This was the moment she had been dreading for 20 years. "The complete destruction of Earth's government and military command structure." The tunnel got very quiet. Everyone stopped what they were doing and turned to look at her. "My name is Dr. Han Mi-jung," she continued. I was the director of something called Project Lazarus. We built systems that would activate automatically if certain conditions were met. What conditions? Asked Park Ji-woo, the weapons expert. The death of 7 specific military leaders, generals and admirals who had special bio-implants in their bodies. When all 7 implants stopped sending signals, it triggered something we called Protocol Zero. Kang stepped closer to her. You're talking about the generals they killed in the square? Yes. General Park Hyun, Admiral Lee Tae-min, General Choi Da-yoon, Admiral Kim Woo-jin, Marshal Yoon So-ra, General Bae Young-soo, and Admiral Song Hye-jin. Song is dead? Oh asked with shock in his voice. According to the bio-monitors, yes. All 7 died within the past 3 days? But why? Kang asked. Why would killing them trigger anything? They were prisoners. They couldn't fight anymore. Han sat down on a broken piece of concrete. Because they weren't just military leaders. They were the safety switches for Protocol Zero. As long as they were alive, the protocol couldn't activate. It was designed that way to prevent accidents. So what happens now? Asked Lim Da-bin. Protocol Zero has 7 phases, Han explained. Each phase is more aggressive than the last. Right now we're in Phase 1. What does Phase 1 do? It activates hidden systems all over human space. Communication networks, supply caches, automated defenses that the public never knew about. Things that were built in secret over the past 20 years. Kang looked confused. But the aliens destroyed everything. They took over all our military bases. They took over the bases they knew about, Han said with a small smile. Protocol Zero was designed for exactly this situation. Complete military, defeat, total loss of government, enemy occupation of Earth. You mean there are secret bases? Ji-woo asked. Not bases exactly. More like sleeping systems that wake up when they're needed. Right now, all across the galaxy, computers that have been dark for years are starting to turn on. Machines that looked broken are beginning to work again. Han stood up and walked to Kang's map on the wall. Have you noticed anything strange in the past few days? Anything the aliens can't explain? Actually, yes, Kang said slowly. Some of their equipment has been having problems, and last night I heard sounds coming from the old military section of the tunnels. Electronic sounds? Yes, like machines starting up. Han nodded. That would be the local Protocol Zero station. There's one hidden in every major city on Earth. They've been waiting for the activation signal. Waiting to do what? Oh asked. Phase 1 is information gathering and resource activation, Han explained. The protocol needs to know exactly what the enemy has done and what human assets are still available. It's like the Earth is waking up from pretending to be dead. You're saying we're not really defeated? Kang asked. The Terran Defense Fleet was defeated, Han said carefully. The Earth government was destroyed. But Protocol Zero was never meant to fight the same kind of war. It was designed for something else entirely. What? Han looked at each of them. These tired, hungry people who had been hiding in tunnels like rats while aliens celebrated in the streets above. Total species warfare, she said. The complete destruction of any enemy that threatens human extinction. No rules. No mercy, no limits. Can it actually work? Ji-woo asked. I don't know, Han admitted. We built the systems, but we never tested them. We hoped we would never have to. But you think there's a chance? Han thought about the biosignatures going dark, about Admiral Lee's final moments, about all the Years of secret planning and hidden preparations. The aliens made a mistake, she said finally. They thought killing our leaders would break us. Instead, they just took the chains off. Lieutenant Namsu Jin had been alone on the Europa listening station for 6 weeks. The small base was hidden under the ice of Jupiter's moon, and the aliens had never found it. She was supposed to monitor communications across the solar system, but there had been nothing to hear since the invasion ended, until tonight. The first signal came through at 0347 hours ship time. It was weak and full of static, but it was definitely human. Nam sat up in her chair and turned up the volume on her headphones. This is Destroyer Pusan, calling any Terran forces. Protocol 0 confirmed. Phase 1 initiated. Prepare for deep. Strike! Nam stared at the radio equipment with her mouth open. The Pusan had been destroyed 3 months ago during the battle for Mars. She had seen the explosion herself through the station's long-range sensors. There was nothing left of the ship but scattered metal and frozen air. But the signal was real, and it was using current military codes that the aliens should not know. She tried to answer. Destroyer Pusan, this is Europa Station 7. Please confirm your status. The reply came back immediately. Europa 7, good to hear a live voice. We are operational and following Protocol 0 Phase 1 instructions. Stand by for coordinate package. Her computer screen filled with numbers. Star charts, weapon caches, rendezvous points. Most of the locations were places she had never heard of, hidden deep in asteroid fields or behind gas giant moons. Pusan, how are you still operational? I watched your ship explode. That's classified, Europa 7. But we're not the only ones. Check frequency 445.7 for more updates. Nam switched to the new frequency and heard voices she thought she would never hear again. Captain Yu Dong-yuk from the cruiser Soul's Vengeance. Commander Ryu Chan-woo from the battleship Mokpo. Lieutenant Colonel Park Min-soo from the carrier strike group that was supposed to be completely destroyed. They were all talking about Protocol 0. They all had coordinate packages. They all sounded like they were very much alive and ready to fight. What the hell is going on? Nam whispered to herself. The answer came from an unexpected source. Her computer received a priority message from Earth, routed through communication, systems she did not know existed. Lieutenant Nam, this is Dr. Han Mi-jung, Project Lazarus Director. You are now part of Protocol 0 operations. Please confirm receipt and prepare for Phase 1 objectives. Nam had never heard of Dr. Han or Project Lazarus, but the message had the highest level of military security codes. She typed back, message confirmed. Request explanation of current situation. Protocol 0 is humanity's contingency plan for species-level threats. The death of our command structure has activated automated systems throughout human space. What you are hearing are deep cover assets that have been waiting for this moment. Deep cover assets? Ships, bases, and personnel that were officially destroyed or killed, but actually moved to hidden positions. We have been preparing for total war since the aliens were first detected 20 years ago. Nam felt like she was dreaming. 20 years ago, when first contact happened, everyone thought the Veiltharans were peaceful traders. They had technology, humans wanted, and they seemed interested in friendly relations. The early contact was a lie, she typed. Our best analysts knew from the beginning that the Veiltharans were scouts for an invasion force. We could not prove it without starting a war we were not ready for, so we pretended to believe them while we prepared. Prepared how? Hidden shipyards, secret weapon development, deep space surveillance networks, and most importantly, contingency, plans for what to do if we lost the initial war. On frequency 445.7, more ships were checking in. the destroyer Incheon, the heavy cruiser Daejeon, the stealth frigate Ulsan, all ships that were supposed to be destroyed, all reporting ready for combat operations. How many ships do we actually have? Nam asked Dr. Han. That information is classified above your current level, but I can tell you that Phase 1 involves activating approximately 30% of our true military capacity. 30%? The Yalde Terran Defense Fleet was never our only military force, Lieutenant. It was our public military force. What the aliens destroyed was what we wanted them to see. Nam switched back to the main tactical frequency and listened as Captain Yu gave orders to his squadron. They were moving to attack Veltharan supply convoys in the outer system. Ships that should not exist were preparing to fight enemies who thought they had already won. On Europa's surface sensors, Nam could see something she had not noticed before. What looked like random ice formations were actually camouflaged docking ports. As she watched, the ice began to crack and shift, revealing hidden hangar doors. Ships were launching from Europa, sleek black vessels that did not appear on any design, specifications she had ever seen. They moved without visible engines and did not show up on most types of sensors. Dr. Han, there are ships launching from my location that I don't recognize. Those are Phase 1 hunter-killer units. They have been in storage under Europa's ice for 15 years, waiting for activation. What's their mission? Elimination of Veltharan deep space monitoring posts. The enemy has been watching our space lanes and communication networks since the invasion. We need them blind before Phase 2 begins. Nam watched the strange ships disappear into space, moving faster than anything she had ever seen. Within hours, her long-range sensors started picking up explosions in the outer system, alien listening posts that had been operating since the Eid invasion were going silent one by one. The Veltharans tried to send reinforcements, but their ships ran into problems. Navigation systems failed. Weapons would not fire properly. Communication equipment stopped working at critical moments. Are we hacking their systems? Nam asked. Not exactly, Dr. Han replied. But for 20 years, every piece of human technology they captured or studied contained hidden programs, viruses that would activate only under specific conditions. What conditions? The death of the 7 generals. Their bioimplants carried the final unlock codes. When they died, every piece of human technology in Veltharan hands became a potential weapon against them. Nam was beginning to understand. The invasion had not been a military defeat. It had been the largest intelligence operation in human history. The aliens thought they were studying captured human technology, but they were actually installing weapons into their own systems. How long have you been planning this? Since first contact. We knew this day would come. We just had to be patient and wait for the right moment. On the tactical frequencies, the reports kept coming in. Alien supply depots exploding. Veltharan patrol ships disappearing. Communication networks going dark across 3 star systems. The aliens were starting to panic. They sent emergency signals to their home worlds, but many of those signals were being intercepted and blocked. The ones that got through carried confusing information about human ships that should not exist and technology that should not work. Commander Velthara, the occupation leader on Earth, ordered increased patrols around human cities. But the patrols started reporting equipment failures, weapons that would not charge, vehicles that broke down for no reason, communication equipment that played strange sounds instead of carrying messages. Phase 1 is working, Dr. Han reported. To Nam. The enemy is becoming isolated and confused. They are learning that conquering Earth was much easier than holding it. What happens in Phase 2? Phase 2 is direct military action, ship-to-ship combat with full fleet deployments. The aliens will discover that what they destroyed was only a fraction of our real military power. Nam looked at her sensor displays, watching as more Veltharan installations went silent. In just 24 hours, the aliens had lost most of their ability to monitor human space. They were becoming blind and deaf while hidden human forces moved freely around them. Dr. Han, I need to ask you something. Go ahead. Did our generals know when they were captured? Did they know this would happen? There was a long pause before Dr. Han answered. General Park Hyun was one of the original planners of Protocol Zero. Admiral Lee Tae-min helped design the bio-implant system. They all knew exactly what their deaths would trigger. So they died on purpose? They died as soldiers, Lieutenant. They completed their final mission. Nam felt tears in her eyes as she thought about the brave men and women who had stood straight and proud even with ropes around their necks. They had not been defeated prisoners. They had been the final pieces of humanity's greatest plan. The aliens had laughed while hanging Earth's generals, never knowing they were activating the most dangerous protocol their species had ever faced. Admiral Song Hye-jin was supposed to be dead. The Veltharans had even broadcast her execution across the galaxy, showing her body hanging next to the other generals in New Geneva's main square. But the body they killed was not hers. The real Admiral Song stood on the bridge of her flagship, the massive carrier Titan's Wrath, hidden deep inside Saturn's ring system. For 6 months, she had been building a fleet that officially did not exist, using resources that had been secretly moved to this location over the past 10 years. Phase 2 is authorized, came the message from Dr. Han on Earth. Begin deep. Strike operations immediately, Song turned to her communications officer. Signal all ships. Operation Deep Strike is now active. Target priority, Veltharan forward command bases. Around Saturn's rings, space itself seemed to come alive. What looked like asteroids and ice chunks began to move and change shape. Hidden, docking bays opened to reveal ships that had never appeared in any official military records. The Deep Strike Fleet was humanity's greatest secret. While the public Terran Defense Fleet fought and died in spectacular battles, these ships had been quietly positioned throughout the solar system. They used technology that was 50 years ahead of anything the aliens had seen. Captain Yu Dong-hyuk's destroyer, Soul's Vengeance, led the first attack group. His ship had been officially destroyed at the Battle of Europa, but in reality, it had been equipped with advanced stealth systems and sent to hide among the asteroids of the outer system. All ships. This is Admiral Song, her voice carried to every vessel in the hidden fleet. The enemy believes they have won. They think humanity is broken and defeated. Today we show them how wrong they are. The fleet moved in perfect silence, through space. The ships used quantum drives that left no energy signature. Their hulls were coated with materials that absorbed sensor waves instead of reflecting them. To the aliens, the approaching human fleet was completely invisible. The first target was the Veltharan forward base at Proxima Centauri. This was their main supply depot and communication center for the entire occupation force. It was protected by powerful shields and dozens of alien warships. But the aliens were not prepared for what came out of empty space. Soul's Vengeance fired first, using weapons the Veltharans had never seen before. Instead of energy beams or missiles, the ship launched what looked like small metal spheres. The spheres passed through the alien shields like they did not exist and attached themselves to the enemy ships. A few seconds later, the spheres exploded. But these were not normal explosions. They created tears in space itself, ripping holes in reality that sucked everything nearby into nothingness. 3 Veltharan heavy cruisers simply disappeared, leaving nothing behind but empty space. "What kind of weapons are those?" asked Commander Ryu Chan-woo from the battleship Mokpo. "Quantum destabilizers," Admiral Song replied. "We've been working on them since first contact. The aliens taught us about quantum physics when they thought we were their friends. We used their own knowledge to build weapons that could kill them." More human ships decloaked around the alien base. The heavy carrier Busan materialized directly above the main command center and launched fighter squadrons that moved faster than anything the aliens had ever tracked. The Viltharan base commander tried to call for help, but his communications were jammed by technology he did not understand. His shields failed when human ships fired some kind of beam that made the energy fields collapse inward. His weapons could not lock onto targets that bent light around themselves like water. Within 30 minutes, the most important alien military base outside of Earth was burning wreckage floating in space. "Base secured," reported Captain Yu. "No survivors." Similar attacks began happening throughout human space. Hidden human fleets emerged from gas giant clouds, asteroid fields, and the empty spaces between stars. Every major Veltharan installation came under assault from ships that were not supposed to exist. On Earth, Commander Velthara received the first reports of the attacks. Her communications officer was clicking rapidly in the Veltharan language, a sound that meant extreme distress. "How many human ships are attacking us?" Velthara demanded. "Unknown, Commander. Our sensors cannot track them properly. They appear and disappear like ghosts. And their weapons. We have no defense against their weapons." Velthara looked at the tactical display showing Veltharan positions throughout the galaxy. Red lights were appearing everywhere as bases went offline. Ships stopped reporting in. Entire star systems fell silent. "This is impossible," she said. "We destroyed their fleet. We saw it happen. But impossible or not, it was happening. The humans had somehow hidden an entire military force for months without detection. They had weapons that could penetrate Viltharan, shields and destroy ships in ways that seemed to violate the laws of physics. On Europa Station, Lieutenant Nam Soo-jin watched the battle reports with amazement. Human forces were winning everywhere, not just winning, but completely destroying alien resistance with minimal losses. "Dr. Han, how is this possible?" she asked. "Our technology was supposed to be inferior to theirs." "It was," Dr. Han replied, from her bunker on Earth. 20 years ago, we could not have fought them directly, but we learned from them. Every trade agreement, every technology exchange, every cultural meeting was actually a chance to study their capabilities. You were spying on them? We were learning everything we could about how to kill them. The aliens thought they were dealing with a primitive species that was grateful for their advanced knowledge. In reality, they were teaching us exactly how to destroy them. The quantum destabilizers were just one example. Humans had also developed phase shift engines that could move ships through dimensions the aliens could not detect. They had created smart materials that could change their properties instantly, making armor stronger or lighter as needed. They had built artificial intelligence networks that could coordinate thousands of ships as if they were a single organism, all. Of this technology came from studying Veltharan science and finding ways to turn it into weapons. The aliens made a critical mistake, Dr. Han explained. They assumed that because we were less advanced, we were also less intelligent. They never considered that we might be able to improve their technology faster than they could. Admiral. Song's fleet moved deeper into alien territory, destroying supply lines and communication networks. Without their forward bases, the Valtheran forces on Earth and the other occupied worlds were cut off from their home empire. Commander Velthara tried to reorganize her forces, but her orders could not reach most of her commanders. The human attacks had been perfectly coordinated to destroy the alien command structure first. On Earth, human resistance groups began receiving new orders through Protocol Zero communication systems. Captain Kang Min-ho and his fighters in the New Geneva tunnels were told to prepare for a major uprising. All Valtharan forces are isolated, came the message from Dr. Han. Phase 2 is nearly complete. Phase 3 will begin the liberation of Earth itself. Engineer Lim Da-bin activated hidden manufacturing systems throughout the planet. Machines that had been disguised as simple industrial equipment began producing advanced weapons and armor for human resistance fighters. The Valtharans on Earth realized too late that they were surrounded by an entire planet of enemies who had been pretending to be defeated. The humans they thought were broken and helpless had been quietly preparing for this moment. Park Ji-woo emerged from the tunnels with weapons that could burn through alien armor like paper. Sergeant Bae Young-min led attacks on alien supply convoys, using explosives that could vaporize metal and stone. Dr. Nam Soo-jin coordinated resistance activities using communication networks the aliens had never detected. "How long were you planning this rebellion?" Commander Velthara asked when she captured one of the human fighters. "Since the day you arrived," the human replied with a smile. "We never stopped fighting. We just got better at hiding it." By the end of Phase 2, the Valtharan occupation forces were trapped on hostile worlds with no way to call for help. Their most advanced bases had been destroyed by weapons they did not understand. Their ships were being hunted by human fleets that could appear and disappear at will. The aliens finally began to understand that they had not conquered humanity. They had walked into the greatest trap ever built. Colonel Ryu Chan-woo had been sleeping for 20 years. Not the normal sleep of rest and dreams, but the deep sleep of cryogenic preservation. He woke up in a medical bay that smelled like antiseptic and cold metal, with machines beeping softly. Around his bed, "Welcome back, Colonel," said Dr. Han Mi-jung, standing beside his awakening pod. "I'm sorry we had to wake you, but Protocol Zero has reached Phase 3. Ryu sat up slowly, feeling strange after so many years of frozen sleep. His muscles were weak, and his mind felt foggy, but his memories were clear. He remembered why he had volunteered for this mission. "How bad is it?" he asked. "The Valtharans invaded Earth 3 months ago. They executed our command structure and occupied all human worlds. But Phase 2 was successful. Their forward forces are isolated and we're ready for the final stages." Ryu nodded. He had been chosen for this deep sleep mission because he knew things that no one else knew. Secrets that were too dangerous to write down or store in computers. Knowledge that had to be kept in a living human brain until it was needed. "Show me the situation," he said. Dr. Han led him to a briefing room where holographic displays showed the current state of the war. Human forces controlled most of space outside the core alien systems. The Valtharan occupation armies were trapped on planets they could no longer supply or reinforce. "We've won the immediate conflict," Dr. Han explained. "But Phase 3 is about making sure this never happens again." "The Pandora stations?" Ryu asked. "Yes. We need your authorization codes to activate them." Ryu felt a cold weight in his stomach. The Pandora stations were humanity's most terrible secret. Hidden in the empty spaces between stars, they had been building themselves for 20 years using self-replicating technology that could turn raw matter into warships. How many ships do they have now? Our best estimate is over 50,000 combat vessels, and they're still building more. Ryu stared at the numbers on the display. 50,000 ships was more than the entire Veltharan military. It was enough to conquer every known alien civilization in the galaxy. Dr. Han, you understand what this means? If we activate the Pandora stations, there's no going back. We become the dominant military force in known space. The aliens forced this choice on us when they decided to exterminate our species, Dr. Han replied. Protocol Zero was designed for species survival, not fairness. In the deep bunker, Ryu met with the other awakened sleepers. Colonel Shin A-Ra, who specialized in biological warfare. Dr. Park Min-soo, who had developed weapons that could destroy entire planets. Commander Lee Daebin, who understood technology that could collapse hyperspace travel lanes. These were the people who had volunteered to sleep until humanity faced extinction. They were the keepers of knowledge too dangerous for normal times. The aliens have made contact with their homeworlds, Colonel Shin reported. They're sending a massive fleet to reinforce their occupation forces, over 10,000 ships. When will they arrive? Ryu asked. 6 weeks. Ryu looked at the tactical displays. Even with Admiral Song's hidden fleet and all the secret human forces, they could not fight 10,000 enemy ships in direct battle. But they did not have to. Activate the Pandora stations, he ordered. All of them. Dr. Han entered her authorization codes into the control system. Then Ryu added his codes, followed by the other awakened officers. One by one, the most heavily protected systems in human space came online. In the empty void between stars, machines that had been working silently for decades suddenly accelerated their production. Automated shipyards the size of small moons began launching vessels at a rate of hundreds per day. The ships that emerged from the Pandora stations looked nothing like traditional human designs. They were sleek and black, built for maximum efficiency and firepower. Each ship was controlled by an artificial intelligence that could react faster than any living pilot. Captain Yu Dong-hyuk, still commanding Seoul's Vengeance, received orders to rendezvous with the first Pandora fleet at a secret location near Pluto. What he found there made him stop breathing for a moment. Thousands of identical black ships hung in perfect formation in space. They moved with mechanical precision, responding to orders instantly and without question. These were not ships with human crews. These were weapons in the shape of spaceships. Seoul's Vengeance, this is Pandora Fleet Alpha, came a voice that sounded human but spoke too precisely without emotion. We are ready for Phase 3 operations. What are your orders? Captain Yu asked. Elimination of all Veltharan military assets. Occupation of all enemy worlds. Establishment of human control over this galaxy sector. Phase 3 began with a message sent directly to the Veltharan homeworlds. It was broadcast on all frequencies, in perfect Veltharan language, with images that showed the true scale of human military power. To the Veltharan Empire, the message began. You invaded our worlds. You killed our leaders. You thought we were weak and primitive. You were wrong. The broadcast showed the Pandora stations launching ship after ship. It showed human fleets that numbered in the tens of thousands. It showed weapons that could crack planets and collapse stars. We offer you one chance for survival. The message continued. Surrender all military forces. Abandon all occupied human worlds. Return to your home systems and never leave them again. You have 72 hours to comply. The Valtheran government's response was immediate and predictable. They sent their largest fleet toward Earth, determined to crush human resistance once and for all. They never made it. The alien fleet was intercepted halfway through their journey by Pandora Fleet Beta. 20,000 human ships surrounded and destroyed 10,000 alien vessels in a battle that lasted less than 4 hours. No Valtharan ship escaped. No distress signals were sent. The entire enemy fleet simply vanished from space, leaving behind only scattered debris and radiation signatures. On Earth, Commander Velthara received reports of the battle's outcome. Her communications officer was making distressed clicking sounds that meant fear and disbelief. "How many ships did we lose?" Velthara asked. "None, Commander. The humans destroyed our entire reinforcement fleet without losing a single vessel." Velthara stared at the tactical display. It showed human fleets moving toward every major Valtharan system in known space. The numbers were impossible to believe. Humanity had gone from a defeated species to the dominant military power in the galaxy in a matter of weeks. "Prepare a surrender message," she ordered. "Commander, we cannot fight them. No one can fight them. They have become something we cannot defeat." But it was too late for surrender. Phase 3 was not about accepting defeat from the enemy. It was about making sure the enemy could never threaten humanity again. Colonel Shin Aira activated the biological warfare protocol she had developed during her long sleep. Targeted viruses spread through Valtharan space, designed specifically to affect alien physiology while leaving other species untouched. Dr. Park Min-soo deployed gravitational weapons that could collapse the hyperspace lanes the aliens used for faster-than-light travel. Entire Valtharan star systems became isolated islands, cut off from the rest of the galaxy. Commander Lee Dabin coordinated the systematic destruction of all alien military infrastructure, shipyards, weapon factories, training centers, supply depots. Everything the Valtharans needed to build or maintain a military force was methodically eliminated. The Pandora fleets moved from system to system like a plague of mechanical death. Any Valtharan ship that tried to resist was destroyed instantly. Any planet that refused to surrender was bombarded until it submitted. Within 6 weeks, the Valtharan Empire ceased to exist as a military power. Their worlds were occupied by human forces. Their government was dissolved. Their species was reduced to scattered refugees begging for mercy from the people they had tried to exterminate. "Phase 3 complete," reported Dr. Han from her bunker on Earth. "The Valtharan threat has been permanently eliminated." But Colonel Ryu was already thinking about Phase 4. There were other alien species in the galaxy. Some of them had helped the Valtharans during the invasion. Others had simply stood by and watched while humanity was attacked. Protocol 0 had more phases remaining, and each phase was designed to deal with different levels of threat to human survival. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had become something far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. General Kang Min-ho stood in the main square of New Geneva, looking up at the monument that had been built where the Valtharan gallows once stood. The memorial was made from the hull metal of alien command ships, twisted and shaped into 7 tall pillars that reached toward the sky like fingers. Each pillar bore the name of one of the executed generals. Their sacrifice had not been in vain. Their deaths had triggered the greatest military victory in human history. 6 months had passed since Protocol Zero began. 6 months since the first alien ships started disappearing from space. 6 months since humanity revealed its true power to a galaxy that had underestimated them completely. The Veltharan Empire was gone, not just defeated, but erased from existence as if it had never been. Their worlds were now human colonies. Their technology was being studied in human laboratories. Their species survived only as test subjects and manual laborers. General Kang, called Major O.J. Sung, walking across the square in his new colonial marine uniform. "The ceremony is ready to begin." Kang nodded and followed O toward the platform where hundreds of new military graduates were waiting for their commissions. These young men and women would serve in the expanded human military that now controlled this entire sector of the galaxy. Admiral Song Hye-jin, very much alive despite official records showing her execution, stood at the podium wearing the insignia of Supreme Fleet Commander. Her Pandora fleets patrolled 50 star systems, ensuring that no alien species could threaten human expansion. "Today we honor the memory of 7 heroes," Admiral Song began her speech. General Park Hyun, Admiral Lee Tae-min, General Choi Da-yun, Admiral Kim Woo-jin, Marshal Yoon So-ra, General Bae Young-soo, and Admiral Song Hye-jin, whose deaths triggered the rebirth of human civilization. The crowd listened in respectful silence. Everyone knew the story now. How the generals had volunteered to be captured, knowing that their executions would activate Protocol Zero. How they had died bravely while their enemies laughed, never knowing they were pulling the trigger on their own destruction. "They died so that humanity could live," Admiral Song continued. "They accepted defeat so that we could achieve total victory. They are the reason we now stand as masters of this galaxy." Dr. Han Mi-jung, now Director of Galactic Security, watched the ceremony from her command center deep beneath the city. Screens around her showed the current status of human space, which now extended across hundreds of worlds. The Pandora stations were still building ships. 50,000 had become 100,000, then 200,000. There seemed to be no limit to how many vessels the automated shipyards could produce. Director Han called her assistant, Colonel Shin A-ra. "We're receiving surrender requests from the Zephyrian Trade Federation. What are they offering?" "Complete submission to human authority. They want to become a protected species under our control." Han nodded. The Zephyrians had been smart. When they saw what happened to the Veltharans, they immediately contacted human authorities to negotiate their surrender. Several other alien species had done the same thing. The galaxy was reorganizing itself around human power. Some aliens chose submission and were allowed to live as junior partners in the new order. Others chose resistance and were eliminated by the Pandora fleets. "Any word from the hegemony worlds?" Han asked, still refusing all communication. "Their fleets are massing in the outer rim. The Caraxian hegemony was the largest remaining alien military power. They controlled nearly as many worlds as the old Veltharan Empire had, and they seemed determined to fight rather than surrender." "Activate Phase 4 protocols," Han ordered. "If they want a war, we'll give them one they'll never forget." Phase 4 was designed for large-scale galactic warfare. It involved weapons and strategies that made the Pandora fleets look like toys. Han sometimes wondered if the original planners of Protocol Zero had really understood what they were creating. Captain Yu Dong-hyuk, now commanding a Pandora fleet of his own, received the Phase 4 activation codes while patrolling near the Caraxian border. His artificial intelligence officers immediately began calculating attack patterns and resource requirements. "Captain, his AI tactical officer reported. Phase 4 authorization confirmed. Deployment of planetary siege engines approved. How many worlds are we targeting? All Coraxian military systems, approximately 47 inhabited planets. You felt a moment of doubt. 47 worlds meant billions of alien lives. But then he remembered the images of human generals hanging from ropes while aliens celebrated below. Proceed with the operation, he ordered. The planetary siege engines were machines the size of small moons, designed to orbit enemy worlds and systematically destroy all military infrastructure while leaving civilian populations alive but helpless. They were incredibly expensive to build and took months to deploy properly, but humanity had been building them in secret for 20 years, and now they had hundreds ready for use. On Earth, the memorial ceremony concluded with the reading of the honor roll, names of all the humans who had died during the invasion, followed by a promise that their sacrifice would never be forgotten. We are no longer the species that begs for mercy, General Kang told the new graduates. We are no longer the civilization that hopes others will treat us fairly. We have learned that in this galaxy only the strong survive, and only the ruthless prosper. The graduates repeated the new military oath that had been written after Protocol Zero's success. I swear to protect humanity above all other species. I swear to show no mercy to any enemy of our people. I swear to expand human power to every corner of this galaxy, no matter the cost to others. Corporal Park Ji-woo, now a major in the Intelligence Corps, monitored alien communications from her office in the former Veltharan Embassy building. Most of what she heard was panic and confusion, as species throughout the galaxy tried to understand what humanity had become. They're calling us monsters, she reported to her superior officers. Good, replied Colonel Ryu Chan-woo. Fear is more reliable than friendship. As long as they're afraid of us, they won't attack us. The Coraxian hegemony launched their assault 3 weeks later. 2,000 ships, their entire military fleet, jumped into the Sol system expecting to find a weakened Earth defended by whatever human forces had survived the Veltharan invasion. Instead, they found 20,000 Pandora ships waiting for them in perfect formation. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the Coraxian fleet had been completely destroyed. Not a single alien ship escaped to carry word back to their home worlds, but the human response did not end there. Phase 4 had been triggered, and Protocol Zero did not believe in half measures. The planetary siege engines began their work on every Coraxian world simultaneously. Military installations were vaporized from orbit. Shipyards were reduced to molten metal. Training centers and weapon factories simply vanished under sustained bombardment. Within a month, the Coraxian hegemony surrendered unconditionally. Their government was dissolved, their military was eliminated, and their worlds became human colonies. That's the last major alien military power, Dr. Han reported to the Global Defense Council. Phase 4 complete. The galaxy is now under human control. But Protocol Zero still had 3 more phases remaining. Phases 5, 6, and 7 were designed for threats that went beyond individual alien species. They were meant to deal with galactic-level dangers, extra-dimensional invaders, or the discovery of hostile civilizations from other galaxies. Do we deactivate the protocol now? Asked Admiral Song. No, Dr. Han replied after thinking for a long moment. We keep it running. We keep building ships, weapons, and defenses. We make sure that humanity never faces extinction again, no matter what threats we might encounter. The memorial ceremony ended with the lighting of 7 eternal flames, one for each executed general. Their faces were carved into the metal pillars, looking stern and proud even in death. Children who had been born after the invasion would grow up in a galaxy where humans were the dominant species. They would never know what it felt like to be weak or afraid of alien invaders. They would inherit an empire built on the sacrifice of 7 brave officers who died so that their people could rule the stars. Engineer Lim Da Bin, now Minister of Colonial Development, supervised the construction of new human cities on former alien worlds. Millions of humans were leaving Earth to settle on planets that had been cleansed of their original inhabitants. "How many worlds do we control now?" she asked her staff. 312, with more being added every week as the Pandora. Fleets expand into unexplored systems. The galaxy was becoming human, not through negotiation or peaceful expansion, but through the systematic elimination of every species that might someday pose a threat. Protocol Zero had taught humanity that the universe was too dangerous for compassion. Lieutenant Nam Soo-jin, now Admiral Nam and commander of the Deep Space Exploration Fleet, led missions to map the remaining unexplored regions of the galaxy. Her job was to find any alien civilizations that had escaped detection and evaluate them as potential threats. "If they have military technology, we eliminate them," her orders read. "If they might develop military technology in the future, we eliminate them. If they refuse to submit to human authority, we eliminate them." The standing orders were clear: A.